You're listening to Must In-Laws Be Outlaws, the podcast that proves even the rockiest in-law relationships can turn into the greatest friendships.
But we are a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law.
I'm the mother-in-law. I'm Lucette.
And I'm the daughter-in-law, Cathy. And our desire is to give you information that can make your life better. And hopefully you can learn from our mistakes and you can apply them to any relationship in your life. Now, we're going to just jump right in. I'm going to start with a joke. All right, are you ready? Are you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Okay, let me just see what the joke is. What do you do if you miss your mother-in-law?
What?
You reload and try again. That's terrible. Anyway, so that's why we're doing the podcast, because we want to take away the stereotypes that the mother-in-law is the bad guy. We have a great relationship, but it took years of work and experience and lots of communication. So
the thing I wanted to say is the reason we start with jokes is twofold. One is because it creates a lighter level of emotions in dealing with this topic. But the other point is there are so many jokes indicating, obviously, that in-law relationships have always been a very big deal. So, and let's move on. So, what's on your mind today, Cathy?
Ooh. So I was watching a movie last night that I thought was really interesting. It was a movie by Noah Baumbach, and Noah Baumbach is the one half of the creative writing duo Barbie. So I think he's brilliant. And his wife, Greta Gerwig, was the director of Barbie. She's just a female powerhouse as well. So together they're a couple. And I am like obsessed with power couples. And I feel like I watched the movie. The movie was interesting and really fun to watch. And more interesting to me are great power couples. So, like, I don't know. What do you think about power couples?
It's a very good question, actually. I have a number of feelings. One is I certainly admire two people, male and female, or it could be same sex, that combined their brilliance to create something very special. So I have respect and admiration and actually awe for that. On the other hand, I also feel that most often power couples, each one is strong in their own right. And in being strong in their own right, it could cause a lot of clash. And I wonder what they all do to stay, shall we say, whole as one couple. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Maybe if we're lucky, we can ask Greta Gerwig what her secret is, or Noah Baumbach. Maybe one of them will call us
That would be
after
great.
they listen to this great podcast where we rave about how awesome they are. But there are some other power couples that I really respect, like Pat Benatar is married to one of her bandmates, and they are a power couple. And they've written a book together. Anyway, there's just a lot of really good examples of artists who seem to successfully navigate these relationships. Maybe my husband and I could be considered a power couple. I don't know.
Listen, you're talking to the mother and mother-in-law. I'm not arguing that one bit. But the interesting thing is, where do you go? If you've reached the pinnacle, where do you go from there?
I don't think there's an end to creativity. There is no pinnacle. Creativity is forever.
I agree. But I'm not sure the individuals feel that way, which I think this is another topic, actually. I think we're on to another topic.
No, the one that we bring on celebrity guests. Let's do those.
Right.
Are you ready to jump into our real topic? I sense that you're ready to end the topic and get into the next heated discussion.
I think you're right. What should you do if your mother-in-law is so sure of herself that every time she comes over to your house, she rearranges your furniture and your ornaments because she thinks it looks better that way?
Does anyone have experience with this? I don't know. Do you have experience with this?
Well, I personally do not, but my mother did. And my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, lived on the third floor of the building when I was a little girl, and we lived on the second floor. So she was there quite frequently. And every time she'd walk in, she'd walk into my mother's living room and rearrange the furniture, the ornaments. She would tell my mother what to cook. And my mother was, in the beginning, she was in awe. She wanted everything in the relationship to be, quote, perfect. But after a while, it really made her crazy. I mean, you never met my mother, but my mother was not a meek person. And she really had a lot of difficulty trying to decide how to handle this. You know, she had respect. In that era, by the way, people didn't talk back to their elders. We're going back a number of years. They did not. So, how do you deal with it so that your mother in law doesn't feel hurt, doesn't feel angry, and yet you've gotten your point across in a nice way?
How did your mom handle it?
What?
How did your mom handle it?
Oh, I don't think you want to know that.
No, I do want to know. That's exactly the point.
My mother actually handled it by talking to her husband.
Yeah, I think that would be.
She spoke to her husband, my dad. My dad spoke to my grandmother, but my grandmother was still insulted. She was very annoyed. But I think there are ways to handle it. And the way to handle it, I think, is to grab the bull by the horns. So in comes the mother-in-law, and she's rearranging your furniture.
You know, you've done this to me, I just realized.
Well, you did deal with it. Do you know how you dealt with it?
I probably told Mark.
No.
I took everything I took the art off the walls.
Yeah.
So let me set the scene. So we've moved into a new house, and there's a lot of artwork that you generously donated to us.
But your mother was there too. That counts too.
Okay. And my side of the story that is irrelevant. We had gone away. I don't know where we were, but when we came back, all the artwork had been hung beautifully. I might add, it was hung beautifully, but the artwork was terrible. Let me tell you, it's just not my style. It's subjective, right? Art is subjective. This was not my style of art. So I just took everything down.
Well, I don't quite remember it that way, but maybe it's a good thing I don't remember it that way. She neglected to say that my husband and I owned an art gallery and I was a curator. So I was used to curating art. And a lot of the art was art that we had handled in the past that we, was sharing with our kids. So the bottom line to the whole thing is she didn't handle it quite right, and I did not handle it quite right. I thought I was helping.
Yeah, I don't think you thought you were doing anything wrong. You just thought that your taste would be my taste, and it just wasn't. But we didn't have a conversation about it.
You are now witnessing the split of the perfect relationship between the mother-in-law and the daughter.
Wait, the new title of the show: Our In-Laws Outlaws? Yes, and we both storm off.
No, the truth of the matter is, I think this is really a key. I might have been frustrated or somewhat upset at the moment, and maybe you were too. But you let it go. You let it go. How important is it to dwell on these things?
I actually had forgotten about it until you just were, and we've been talking about topics forever. I didn't even think about it, but I was like, oh yeah, there's that one time where the art was in my house, and I was like, oh, it wasn't my taste. That's all.
Now, my suggestion at this point would be turn to your mother-in-law and say, thank you so much for hanging the art, but I have a slightly different skew. What do you think if I do this or that?
That is a great way to handle it.
Yeah.
I did not do that, but that's a much better way to handle it.
But you might do that today.
Yeah.
You're a different person today.
I might do that today. Yeah, that was over 10 years ago. I think you're right. I think if you could if I could have had the wherewithal to just be honest and say, and have the courage, right, to be honest and not be afraid to get in trouble or be afraid to be judged or whatever the fear was that I had that kept me from being more direct. I think you're right. Being direct is really good advice. Kindness.
The one thing I have learned over the years is take a different tack. If any of you are sailors, you can't get there with the wind in one position, take a different tack. if you've read The Odyssey by Homer, you know that you can take different alternative routes to get to your goal. Well, the same thing is true about life. You can take another route and put that in your brain, and you will find you will be more successful. What we tend to do when Cathy did not like the way we had arranged the paintings and she rearranged it, she was annoyed, I was annoyed. Didn't have to be that way. Neither one of us needed to be annoyed because A, don't take it personally, and you've said that many times, and B, it's not important. We get upset by these things because we think it assaults our egos.
But I could even go back to the example that you gave a few podcasts ago where there was an incident with your mother-in-law where she gave a nicer gift to her daughter. And what was really the problem was honesty. It wasn't the gift giving. Like we kind of like distilled it down. I think in this case, like in this example where the art it's about my voice not being considered. So I really didn't care about the art. Like who cares? I could just rehang it. But that's the thing, right?
It's ego.
No, you're not hearing what I'm saying. Again, my voice, I wasn't consulted in the decision making process. So for me, what really was wounding wasn't the fact that the art was hung. That was really generous of you guys to do. I hate hanging art, by the way. But it was the fact that I wasn't included in the conversation.
Well, you weren't there.
I know I wasn't there. So,
right.
Like, you could have called me. We have these things called cell phones.
No. The reason, and I can remember, my husband and I did it, and the reason we did it is solely to help. It wasn't like we wanted it a certain way. We did it so that they could come home and take part in their lives. They didn't have to be confronted by all the minutia that in moving into a new home. But that wasn't right of us. We should not have done it. We should have, let it go.
Or just called me.
Well, I don't think you were reachable. I think that was the reason we didn't call you, because you can't say to somebody, do you want this higher or lower over the phone? You can't do that, But the bottom line is,
how about, do you want this hung at all? You could have
done
that.
You did tell us to do it. You did tell us to do it. You left them all.
That was probably the southern version of me. It was like, just do it.
No, they were all there, leaning against the wall, and because I'm a curator, they said, maybe if you have a chance, can you hang it? So we said, okay, we'll do it. Bottom line is, these things are not important, and that's what I'm trying to say. To hold on to any of these things doesn't make sense. To even let it wound our egos.
But wouldn't the right thing right now, if we follow your rules, would be for you to hear that I was wounded and just say, oh, that really sucks. I'm sorry that happened.
Oh, no, of course we're sorry. And of course but we're now talking, how many years later?
Yeah.
We're now talking about what somebody else should do. That's what it is. It's so many years later. What should I have done, or what should somebody do if confronted by a situation like that? That's the most important part. So we need tools. And what I'm giving everybody right now is, in the total scheme of life, these things are minutia. Let it go. Just let it go.
I don't know. I think that's easier said than done. And not to beat a dead horse, but like even with this incident about the art, which really, you're right, like who cares? It doesn't matter. And it's easier said in hindsight. Like in the moment, that probably wasn't how either of us felt. So it's hard to, it's easier to give advice when you're looking in the rearview mirror than it is to like be in the moment. So let's just say.
That's why we're here.
Yeah,
because we're now looking in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, we're trying to help you so you have better relationships.
So you don't make the same mistakes.
Learn from our mistakes.
Right, exactly.
And I would just say, in that instance, like if it happened today where you came in and did something of that nature, I would have a lot more confidence in myself to say, hey, or I like what your mom did. Your mom put her husband in charge, and I think that's a great tool. I think sometimes it takes a mediator to say, by the way, we want to start our own life. And I think that's
it didn't work well.
well,
That's the problem. It didn't
but I
work
do think
well.
that's a good option.
Bottom line is we have to handle ourselves. It
True.
shouldn't be our husband, and we can't blame somebody else. We have to handle ourselves. And when we accept responsibility for our own behavior, you'll be amazed how your behavior changes. You'll be amazed how your thinking changes.
That's true.
And that's the step that's most important. I find.
Wait, I think that's a great place to go into who gets the last word.
Do we have time?
Yeah. Who gets the last word?
Okay. All right.
Unless you want to get the last word in and say anything else about the topic that's really important.
No, I'm good with anything. I'm pretty easy about that stuff.
I know you are really good with the flow.
Okay. So who gets the last word?
Oh, we have to do questions. I get to read the question, right?
Go ahead.
Did we say, let's see. I think this one, if we haven't tackled this one, audience, this is a good one, whoever wrote this one in. And we want to hear from you, by the way. This podcast is a goal to give you tools to help live a better life and have good relationships. So in that, we take questions, and who gets the last word is all about questions you send us so we can help with our experience. So this one is, she thinks I'm judging her, which I only do a little. What do you do if you feel judgment?
That's a very good question because we don't know who she is. It could be the mother-in-law, but it could be the daughter-in-law too.
Yeah.
It could be. So.
Well, what happens when you feel judged?
Well, that's a good question.
Even if it's not me who's judging you, by the way, maybe it's just in general.
I hope most people get to a level where I am now. I like where I am. I like the fact that I can let things go, and I don't let most things wound me. My ego was in play when I was younger, and I would get wounded. So, as the mother-in-law who's been a mother-in-law for a while now. How many years you guys married?
A long time. 22?
22 years. 22 years.
22, 23?
We've learned a lot. We've learned a lot, both Cathy and I. So if there's something that disturbs you, you have two choices. You always have options. One choice is to discuss it, which could be good, might not be good. It depends on how you do it. The other is let it go. Most things aren't important enough. I cannot tell you how many times I've walked out of a situation, not necessarily with a family member, a person, a friend, and I'm seething. I'm ready to murder. And then an hour later, it's like, who cares?
Yeah, it goes quickly.
Let it go. That's the best advice anybody can give you.
I like that advice. Let it go is good. I think let them is what Mel Robbins would say. But I want to get back to judgment and ego because you mentioned ego earlier, and I'm curious to hear your understanding of ego. What does ego mean to you?
Well, I could give you Freud's definition, but that's not.
Maybe.
No,
if it's relatable.
I think ego, rather than Freud's definition, is what you just said. What does it mean to me, or what does it mean to you? Much more important than the clinical definition. So, what does it mean to me? When I feel my ego is bruised, it's because you are diminishing who I am in some way or another.
I would agree. I'd say my ego is my identity, which
Okay.
is not true. I would say my identity is like this fake story that I put out there and I invest myself into, but it's not real. It's just an identity, which is just a story.
That's very interesting.
My ego, this is just my opinion, is the story that I create around my identity. And when I feel like that's being insulted or if my voice is being taken away or whatever wounding the buttons are that I've had from my past that are the opportunity for me to heal in this lifetime, I believe that every time I heal that, my identity becomes less fixed. if that makes sense.
I think
I don't
it makes
identify
no. I
myself.
think it makes a lot of sense, and what you guys really should be evaluating and judging and appreciating is how sincere and open we both are.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say you guys anymore, by the way.
Oh,
It's only you or y'all.
you all. But anyway, the bottom line is that our sincerity and our willingness to reveal personal items in order to help us all progress is a very special step. And that's what we want to do with this podcast. That's where we're going. And we hope you'll help us by reaching out to us in any way you like, what you do like, what you don't like, what you want to know. You get to send us any information you want. And Cathy will now give you the email
Can't we just do it
address.
together? Isn't that the best?
Right.
mustinlawsbeoutlaws@gmail.com.
Right.
mustinlawsbeoutlaws@gmail.com.
And we appreciate your being with us and
Yeah, thank you.
watching. And please tell your friends, because everybody can benefit from it. Men, women, in-laws, outlaws.
If you have a relationship, you should be listening to us together.
That's it.
If for another reason, to
Right.
judge us.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you, guys.
That's the last word. We're signing
Oh,
off.
Sorry.
See you next time.
Take care. Bye-bye.